Hi, I'm Adam.
I'm Elisa.
And we are
Green Meeple, Purple Meeple.
So we're now in our second row, first cube. And it's pretty exciting to be starting a new row. And this is definitely a diverse row. It's kind of cool. Well, even a diverse cube.
You never know what you'll find behind the door.
Oh yeah, I don't know what we'll do with the door. we'll discuss that soon. The first game is called Bumuntu, and this is basically an abstract game, and the idea is that you're traveling through the jungle and you're kind of piggybacking on a variety of different types of animals, and each one has a different way of getting you around the jungle, if that makes sense. Yeah. And each one, I think, has a very clever way of doing things. Like, for example, I know the rhino, if you're on the rhino, it kind of pushes everything in its way, the way that a rhino might. The monkey kind of jumps all over the place. It's each one has a very clever way of representing the different animals. And one of the things that makes this kind of cool is that there's also kind of there's a point value manipulation going on, because each time you use an animal to travel, you collect the animal. And so you want to try to make that animal worth a lot. And there's a whole track on the side of the board with all the different animals that you're using. And you get to flip them around and change the values of them. So if I see that she's got a lot of tarantulas, for example, I can suddenly try to push the tarantula towards the bottom so that her 8 tarantulas are not worth 60 points or something. It's worth like 8 points or something like that. So that's pretty clever.
And I really like the game pieces. It's a square player board, but the pieces are the nice, as we would say, chunky pieces, kind of like dice would be a nice
like
set of dice.
Yeah.
So that's really nice, and the animals are nice colors, even though I did not quite say that in my art review.
Okay, well, speaking of that, what's your low?
My low score, which as a reminder, we're doing the Target
Z Garcia. Modified target.
Modified target ranking, I guess is the word I was looking
art,
for.
Replayability, game length, ease of play, and tactics.
So my lowest is replayability. It's the same game, your tiles get moved around, but nothing else is changing besides that. So replayability is a 3.
Okay, for me, it's the theme, because while it's not, the idea of going through the jungle riding on different animals is kind of cool. It's really just an abstract game, and so I don't feel a lot of theme in it.
Okay.
So that's a 5 for me.
My highest score for Bumuntu would be an 8 for ease of play. It is very easy. Let's see, what's the recommendation for age? Age is 10 up. I'd say probably 8-year-olds would be able to play it. So it is easy to play.
Okay. And for me, interestingly enough, is a tie between tactics and replayability.
Interesting.
And the main thing is, I think that it's not an auction, but it's the changing of the different values.
So in other words, monkeys would not always score the same every single game, and you could be going for monkeys and think, oh, I'm going to get 30 points, but you're only going to get 3.
Yeah, so I find that kind of fascinating.
Interesting.
And then additionally, there are more animals in here than you'll need, and so you choose only a select few. And so sometimes if you use the rhino all the time to knock things away, you are not going to have that in your game, and you have to figure out how to use it a different. It would almost be like playing chess, but you have a different set of back row pieces each time, so you can't always use your rook, or you can't always use your. So I find that kind of fascinating, and I made those both 9s.
Okay.
So overall?
My overall score for Bumuntu is a 5.66.
And I have mine as a 7.8.
Which we all know he's always ranking is higher than me.
Yes. That's Bumuntu.
Okay. Next up we have Terraforming Mars Ari's Expedition. And I swear if I want to look at the back of the box, it is always on.
Yeah, we
upside down.
we have this problem with putting our box covers on upside down.
You should look at that before you start videos. So anyway, Terraforming Mars is a deck builder where you're collecting cards of different values, and I don't remember the term for how your turn order is based on which card you want to play. And so you secretly choose one of 5 actions, and you play that card, your opponent or opponents play the card, and then that determines what actions get taken during the game. If you choose to play that card, you get a bonus, but all the players get to do that action. Or when you play with 2 players, if we both choose the same action card, we get 1 action for the round. So basically, you're building your deck, and you're trying to earn points by increasing the oxygen supply and the temperature on Mars so human life can exist, I believe is the...
Yeah, so I think technically it would be considered a tableau builder because you're putting your cards down in front of you and playing them. So yeah, so it's...
My gaming vocabulary is not as strong.
It's all good. The deck builder would be more like where you're
drawing.
Up. Yeah, you have,
So a tableau builder.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy Terraforming Mars. And I enjoy it.
Well, and then but before you give some scores, one of the things that's cool about this is if you've heard of Terraforming Mars, the bigger box version, this gives you, it kind of boils down the experience of Terraforming Mars and gets rid of some of the extrinsic things that many people love the full version, and I liked it, but there were I think this version takes away enough of it and streamlines it enough that this is much more playable than the other version would have been. I think they did a nice job.
I've never played the original version, so I can't compare it. No. But moving on to scoring, I have a tie at 9 with tactics and replayability. I really love this game. I love the fact that there's certain science cards or collecting heat cards, or you're trying to develop that heat that you may not see those cards the next time. So then you're looking at a whole different objective to score points and to progress your tableau. So I really like that. And I kind of included the tactics with why I like the replayability factor.
It's just like any game that has a lot of different cards in it with text and symbols and icons and all that kind of stuff. There's almost infinite numbers of combinations. I also have 9s for both of those, but I also added game length. As I said, this is a great boiled down version of Terraforming Mars, and I like that you can play Terraforming Mars kind of in a little bit of a shorter amount of time. And
that's interesting. We normally give our lowest scores first, but I was excited about the game.
No problem.
So for my lowest score, theme and art, because it's Mars. Like, how pretty is it, or how interesting can it be? And the theme, like, nothing against Terraforming Mars and Fry games, but the theme of doing the same type of thing with Arc Nova, which I think we've already reviewed on our videos, they're basically the same. And Mars, whatever. That's what I have to say about that.
That's fair. I don't mind. I like the idea of trying to make another planet livable, habitable, but I'm more of a sci-fi person anyways. But yeah, art, I agree. I gave it a 6 because it's just not, it's not a pretty game, but that's not why we play these games, right? So
not necessarily.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Yes, my total score is a 6.5.
6.5. I thought you liked this more. This is an 8.0.
I don't rate things very highly. Okay.
That was Terraforming Mars and Ares Expedition.
So our next game is Puerto Rico by Rio Grande Games. So for full disclosure, we've actually never played this boxed version of this game that we own.
Yeah.
We got this at a ding and dent or a resale thing, and it's like, oh, we've heard this is a great game. We've played it digitally on Board Game Arena a few times, but we've actually never played it out of this box.
Also, at least the most recent version, we were doing the 2-player variant, which is not officially in this box. It's listed as 3 to 5 players, but there is an official 2-player variant, which doesn't change a whole lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
So Puerto Rico, you are building plantations, you are building warehouses to store your things, you are producing goods, you are bringing in workers, and then you gain points by shipping your goods. So it is, I guess it's a worker placement because you're putting your colonists on your different areas, and then they produce goods or produce points or money or whatever, so you can then ship them.
And a tableau, I think, because it's kind of 2 different tableaus that you're building. Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting mix of everything.
It's an interesting Euro.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about it.
That's all right.
My lowest rate for this is theme and art. The theme is kind of dry, and the art is, it almost looks like some weird 1980s artwork, which the 80s aren't bad. I was born in the 80s, but
like postcard art.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. But anyway.
Yeah. And my low one was theme also, just because, well, I mean, Euros are pretty notorious for being semi-themeless, but again, that's not why you go to play a Euro. You're not thinking you want to immerse yourself in a theme. You want to immerse yourself in a set of mechanics. And this one applies the mechanics really nicely.
Did you give us, you gave her low scores, yes. As I'm looking at my scores, I'm not sure I'd say so much replayability, but I said replayability, game length, and tactics were all at a 7. Replayability, that might have been a stretch, but yeah. I do like the game length. It didn't seem overly long. Tactics, I think we're actually still kind of learning this game, but the tactics where you're trying to make sure you have enough workers to put in your warehouse and put in where you make the goods and all that, that was kind of a challenge. So I did kind of like that challenge.
Yeah, I think that's neat. Mine was replayability and tactics, so similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
For a total score of 5.83 for me.
And mine is 7.1. So, yeah, for me, it seems like yours fives and sixes tend to be a solid game.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be like a 7 or an 8 in order to be considered a solid game, but I think we're working with different currency.
Yes,
that's okay.
We have different currency, and also it's really hard to rank games all the same when you're comparing them at different times.
Yeah.
I think that's the other challenge.
That's true. That's fair. So the next one is Machi Koro. And this was one of the early games that I got when I was single and had too much income. And I ended up actually inside, you can't tell, but there's one of those cool wooden inserts. It's like decked out, and I've got both the harbor and I can't remember the other name of the other expansion, but both expansions that came out are in here. And really, if my memory serves, you kind of have to play with them in order for the game not to break to some extent. It's one of these games, there's several of them now, where you're rolling dice, and the values that you roll will trigger a set of cards in your tableau, either on your turn or someone else's turn, or no matter who, if I remember correctly. Like, it depends on what you've got in front of you. You're building a city, but that's kind of it's not a clear theme. You're putting a bunch of cards in front of you, and they get triggered. They give you things, or they take away from other people, or there's all kinds of things that are possible based on a die roll. And one of the things that's really intriguing about this, and why they've continued making newer versions of this, and also I know Space Base is based on the same kind of idea, is that there's almost no downtime for anyone, because you have to keep watching everyone else play, because if they roll a 2 and you've got this line of cards that all get triggered with a 2 and you don't pay attention, then you're not going to get all of that reward, and you're going to have to wait for the next time a 2 comes around.
And there's no backsies. Oops, I forgot.
Yeah. No, Sean. Okay.
Okay. So low scores, theme, art, and replayability are all 4s for me. The theme, whatever. The art, I don't know. I have nothing to say. And the replayability,
it's cute.
it's kind of a vicious game, even whether you play 2, because there's a lot of games that are super vicious with 2, but there's just some that if you play with the max players, it's still a vicious game, so I don't really care for it for that reason.
And there are some, especially in the one of the 2 expansions, maybe both of them, there's some really nasty cards in there that you can get to a place where every time somebody rolls a certain thing, they're having to give like half their income. I think was one of them.
It's a lot.
I mean, it could be nasty. Like you're sitting there on a pile of cash, and this has the same vibe as playing Monopoly with a big group of people, where you just are like, no, like it just crushes you.
In fact, the last time I played was with a large group of people, and they were just vicious, and I'm like, I never want to play again.
Yeah. So it can be very, very rough. My low score was theme. And then what about high score?
High score was ease of play. It is simple to play. You roll a dice and you do what the cards say.
Yes. That's not to say it's easy on your
Soul.
emotions. Yeah. So that's a challenging one.
Okay, you have the next game also.
I have the next one. Yes. Okay.
Sometimes familiarity helps with explaining the games.
So this is Nidavellir, and it's a big old Norse word. The basic idea is that you have you're trying to hire a group of people that are going to go after a dragon, bunch of dwarves, I think it is, and the way you're hiring them is by with money, which makes sense, right? I mean, it's thematically that's kind of clever, but the mechanic that they use is a player board with 3 upper slots and 2 bottom slots, and you have 5 coins and no more than 5 coins for the whole game. But they rotate, they change. And what happens is you're bidding on 3 pools of dwarves from 3 different taverns that are up there. And whichever bid you put up at the top is for the top tavern, and so on and so forth. And if I put a 5 and she puts a 4, then I get to pick from that tavern first, which means if there's something there that's really sweet, I need to make sure that I bid top dollar as much as, or top schmurgen, or whatever the coinage is in mystical Thor land. The interesting point though is that you have a 0 coin that it automatically puts you last, which is kind of interesting, but what that does is it triggers on the bottom, your bottom 2 coins that you put at the bottom in your purse, they get added together, and whatever that is, you get to take from a pool of coins up above, a little rack of coins. So if I put my 5 and my 4 at the bottom, for example, I get to take a 9 from the top, and now that 9 replaces my 5. So now I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. And then later on, I might add the 9 to the 3, and so that's 12, right? Yeah, yes. 12. So now I have a 12 coin, and they go all the way up to 25. So you can end up by the end of the game having a set of coins that are quite high, and that means you're going to win the bidding pools faster. Not only that, but you're also going to be able to get a good pick of all the different dwarves, and then when you line the dwarves up, and when you get a full set of all 5 colored dwarves, then you get to pick from a set of higher ranking warrior dwarves or something. This game, you get about
300 points.
300 points if you play 2 people. It's more like 200-ish when you play more. But it's amazing. Like, it is so much point possibility. There's just
But then when you lose, it's like, oh, well, I only lost by 35, which was a difference of one card potentially, or one coin or something like that.
So, and this has one of those seals of excellence from the Dice Tower. And I think I agree. I think there's a lot of potential here. It's pretty cool. My lowest score is tied, and it's theme and ease of play. What is that, same?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah. So the theme was interesting, but it wasn't as interesting as some of the other things. Ease of play, it's kind of easy, but it's not. There are times you have to look back, especially with the warrior cards. There's a lot of them that I don't know. They take a lot more explanation, and I just kind of avoided those ones when I played because I was thinking I don't want to even look up what that does. There's a lot of little nuances, and there's at least 2 expansions I know of that add more stuff. So,
well, my lowest is theme and art, and I'm realizing as we continue to rate these games is for art. Like I look at this box and it's very detailed art, but for me, if I don't find the art beautiful, then I don't think I appreciate it.
Everybody's gray in this. That is one thing that.
But it's very detailed and intricate art, so I think an artist would really appreciate it. But anyway, your top score.
My top score is 4-way tie between everything else. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my top score was ease of play, ironically enough. So okay. I really enjoyed the play, and it was quick. Back and forth too.
Well, what was your total?
My total 6.
So that's a pretty high score for her. Mine is 8.6, which is a pretty high score for me.
Yes,
I do like this one.
All right, for a total change of
now for something completely
genre,
different.
is Sushi Go Party. So there's probably many people familiar with Sushi Go. It's, as the box says, a pick and pass card game. So everybody starts card drafting. There we go. Everybody starts with a hand of cards. They select the one they want, pass it to the right, left, whatever the rules say. I don't remember. So it's a lot of fun. Sushi Go Party, you can set your deck to be like the original Sushi Go game, or you can set different combinations. And then some are nicer than others, some leave you hanging, but it's one of those where you get points based on who has the most or who has the least, or you lose points if you have the least, or you lose points if you have none, or you collect 2 tofu, you get 5 points. You collect 3 tofu, I think it's tofu, that you get like negative points or something. But it's really enjoyable. I think I enjoyed a lot because it was one of the first games I ever played that was not your standard card and board games.
Well, this is
Adam's mom thinks the artwork's super cute. She's like, "Oh, I like these. They're cute."
Yeah, and the ease. It's easy enough to teach any group, and I recommend if you're going to go this route, go with the party box because it also includes the original, so you can play with the simple, straightforward one, but you can't play with the smaller tin, the one that's just Sushi Go. You can only play one thing, and that game would have a much lower score in my book.
Yes.
Just because the variety that is in this box is much. I mean, it's amazing the combinations that you can create from this, and the mean ones are really mean if you want to get mean with it, but. Yeah, well, no, because the worst one I think is the one that does wipes out your points or gives you negative points because the reason is that, and this is the meanest it gets. You're passing around and there's 7 or 9 or whatever cards as you're going around. The last 2 you keep one and you give one, so you don't necessarily have. If it's, let's say it's 3 that gives you the negative points. You might have 2 down there and you're being very careful, but that person next to you might have the 3rd one and they put it down and then they give it to you and you must play that card now. So now you can actually smite people. I mean, it's very take that-y potentially, depending on the group that you play with. But it's fun.
So for me, I guess besides that, my low score would be tactics.
That's also my low score, but it's not very low because my scores are very high on this one.
Yeah, even though they're anyway.
Yeah.
High scores, ease of play, art, and theme. I like all of them.
My highest score was ease of play because this is one. I started a board game club at my school, and this was one where I was able to grab a couple of kids that just decided to sit on their phone, and I just said, hey, come on over, like, I've got something to show you. And by the time I was done teaching them, they ended up playing it like 3 more times or something, and then the next time they came back, they instantly went and grabbed it. It's a real simple one, and that was just the basic tin, the simpler, the smaller tin. There's a lot of beautiful little, it's like kind of a masterpiece to me because it's anything that's easy like that, but also thinky and good. This is like Hall of Fame kind of game. So.
All right, so total score for Sushi Go Party is a 6.5.
This one's a 9, even though it's kind of weird to think of this as a 9 and then some of these big box games as being lower than that.
I think there's some nostalgia and...
Well, there's just a beauty of it. I think it's really special. So
okay,
maybe that's the nostalgia.
So now, moving on to the next game.
And now we'll just bounce a totally different direction. This is The Gallerist by Lacerda. And we've played this probably 4 times.
And we've owned it for about 4 years.
Yeah, it is as if you don't know Lacerda's games, he's a master creator of these worker placement thematic Euro games that will take you, like, if you know what you're doing. Yeah, if you know what you're doing, like 2 hours probably minimum. Maybe we're slow, I don't know, but
let's see, the box says 120 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's when you really, really have it together. When you're learning, more like 4. It's insane. But at the same time, the reward is that it's a very immersive, high quality experience. It's really, really amazing. The basic idea behind The Gallerist is this is one of my go-to irresistible themes that I pretty much have to buy the game if it has this theme, which is art galleries and art in general. I just have a lot of art games, and this one is everything having to do with owning an art gallery. It is recruiting people, or not recruiting, but attracting people to your gallery. It is finding and discovering artists. It is promoting those artists. It is getting them to produce artwork. It is hanging the artwork in the gallery, which draws more people in. And then it is selling the artwork and gaining points from that, and having special goals of you have to sell X number of paintings or sculptures or whatever in order to get it. There's a lot going on, but the amazing thing is that it's literally 4 spots, 4 worker placement spots, and that's what Lacerda does really well. Is just it's a lot of game and a lot of thinking is packed into an incredibly simple. Like, he could make tiddlywinks about the apocalypse or something, right? I mean, it's amazing. Like, oh, it flipped this way, so now that triggers 10 more, whatever sub moves or whatever. It's not for the faint of brain.
Makes me tired thinking about it.
Yeah, it is. It's an exhausting game to play if you're not starting from a place of like really being in the mood for this.
We actually benefited during COVID times of having that extra time at home to learn the game and play the game.
Yeah.
We had friends that we were in our, as they would call it, your close circle or whatever, your safe zone.
Yeah.
So we played with them and learned the game that way.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I'm
gonna set this down because it's very heavy.
So for my low score would be game length and ease of play. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to think about. Ease of play doesn't mean that I don't like the game. It's a challenging game to play.
Right.
And a lot of different pieces and parts. And the length is super challenging when you've got 3 kids, jobs, homes, other things to do. So
ease of play is also one of my lows, and interestingly enough, art is low on this, and it's mainly it's kind of weird, but it doesn't necessarily have to be artistically beautiful. I just like the idea of artwork. The art that Mr. Lacerda got from private artists, I believe, that were created specifically for this game, none of them are really beautiful, I would say. And then most of this looks like, strangely enough, a big carton of Neapolitan ice cream. Everything is white, pink, and brown. And it, like, don't let this confuse you. It's more like this. This is what the game looks like. This is what the game's about. So, I mean, it really is like a big mound of white, pink, and brown. And then you have these kind of bright red and blue are the artists.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's strange. But again, you know, Euros usually are not gorgeous. It is a beautiful production. One of the things I love is the tickets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have tickets for getting people to come to your gallery, and they are like
There's
9-ply cardboard.
Yeah.
You know, like it's the
and
thickest
they're
thing
cut
ever.
like little old tickets. They're really cute.
Yeah, I mean they're chunky. They're chunky cardboard.
My top scores were theme, art, and replayability. Surprisingly enough, all at 8s.
Mine's theme, replayability, and tactics, because there's definitely a lot of
Mine was up there too for that.
a lot of things that you have to consider and a lot of ways to promote and build. So total
Was 6.83.
6.83. That's very high for her. 9.1 for me, because this is definitely probably I'm guessing it's going to be in my top 10. We will do one someday.
We still have a lot of cubes to get through first. So our last game for this video is Mariposa.
Mariposas. Yes.
Sure. By Elizabeth Hargrave, same designer as Wingspan. Yes, Wingspan or Wingspan Coaster. So Mariposas is you are butterflies traveling from Mexico to as far north as they go, which again, let's flip this. Canada. So we're flying from Mexico to Canada as butterflies and back before we all die. So it's a little dark. But basically you're collecting nectar and pollen along the way, gaining flowers and spawning butterflies each round, so you can try to gain as many butterflies as you can and get back to Mexico before you die. That's the best.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, you have 4 generations of butterflies, and in true Elizabeth Hargrave fashion, she did unbelievable research on monarch butterflies, and so this game is as true to form as possible. People get sad when I describe this, like, hey, you want to play this thing? You're butterflies. Oh, and you have to try to get to Mexico before you all die. Oh, right. It's kind of it's not a butterfly game. I mean, it is, but it's not butterflies and rainbows. It's more like the gritty life of the butterfly, right? I mean, it's like the March of the Penguins movie, right? Like the harsh reality.
But I really like this game to the point of my highest rated game for this set, which I was actually surprised at. Mm-hmm. But my low score was for replayability, because it's kind of the same thing. You've got certain goals you have to meet. You spawn your butterflies. You can gain bonus points by various places you visit with your butterflies. But for the most part, it's kind of the same. Okay.
For mine it was actually art, because
what was your lowest?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I don't know, it's something about the color scheme of this one. It's the handwriting that's on everything is kind of, I don't know, it's very swirly. It's like she was trying to offset the darkness of the theme by making it look
Pretty?
Too pretty. Like too pretty for the theme. It's very strange. It's like, you died! Like with swirls everywhere, right? I don't know. It's just, I'm not a huge fan of it. And
So was that your lowest score?
That was my lowest score.
Wow.
Was art. Well, and then, you know, I guess, I mean, working with cocoons and caterpillars and, is it eggs? I think the eggs is the first thing. I get it that there's not, I don't know. I think I wanted it to look more natural, and what she's done is taken these objects that you're using and just put them on a background of like bright green, bright blue, bright pink, and then just slap a butterfly on there. And it ends up making it look very flat to me. I want it to be like on a branch with something, you know, like if it's gonna be beautiful, I want it to be a little less neon or something. I don't know. It's just my personal thing.
Meanwhile, me loving art so much, I think it's beautiful, and I gave it an 8 for art and also for theme. I enjoy the theme, even though, you know, we've talked about, I don't want to replay it over and over and over and over. I do enjoy the theme a lot.
Okay.
So
and I do have a high. Oh wait, that actually is higher. Yes. Okay. So yeah, theme is highest for me. I think it's brilliant. I really applaud, because nature seems to be
her forte.
Well, and also one of my favorite things. Like I think when nature is represented well in a board game, it's cool.
That's not his favorite place to be in real life, is in nature.
I know, yeah.
Don't put him in nature, but he can play a board game about nature.
And we'll do another one next time, one that we played recently, right? Isn't that in that cube? I think it is.
What are we playing?
No spoilers. The one we played the other day.
This one? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's in there. Yeah, so yeah, we'll have another nature one.
We have a lot of nature games.
But this is very well represented in this one. I was very pleased with how she, and especially as a follow-up to Wingspan, I think it was cool that she was able to go a totally different way and yet make it still an enjoyable thing.
So my overall score is a 7.16, which is the highest for this cube, as I said previously. And
mine was an 8, which is not the highest, but that's because the Gallerist ended up in the same thing. So, well, we hope you're still enjoying it, and let us know below if you have any comments about what we did, and we hope to see you again. Bye.
Green needle, purple needle.